First of all, I just want to say that this video in the past 10 years has been and always will be in memory of the 1,500 people that lost their lives on April 15th, 1912. Their stories will never be forgotten, and I hope after you watch this video that you'll take some time to remember and hopefully learn about some of the people that lost their lives that night. It is a terrible event that happened, and we all should take our time to always remember and not let things like this be forgotten in our history. It is lessons learned through this that we are able to make change in the future. I hope you enjoy this video. So ever since I was 5 or even younger, pretty much since I can remember, I've always been terrified of shipwrecks. Completely unexplained. Like, I would open up a book or something and there'd be a picture of a shipwreck and I'd be terrified. Like, there's no reason behind it. It was just something that always was. So when I was 10 years old in 2007, the year that Disney Channel had Zac Efron, or however the hell we say his last name, and all the other shit was really popular. Yeah, so in 2007, when I was 10 years old, my grandparents got tickets for a Titanic exhibit at the Science Center, where there would be all sorts of artifacts and stuff from the shipwreck, and they also got us a movie for IMAX about the wreck. And I remember being terrified of going because I thought, oh my god, A, I'm going to see a shipwreck, and B, I'm going to see a dead body. Of course, back then, I didn't know that all the bodies been eaten by fish a long, long time ago. I know that's really vulgar, but yeah. So when we went to the exhibit, I was thinking in my head, oh my god, I am so scared. There's going to be all sorts of creepy stuff in there. And I was so wrong. That exhibit was incredible. There were so many cool sets. Like, you got to see a remake of a first-class stateroom and a third-class stateroom. They had so many artifacts. Like, I got to see the dishes. Like, there's a very, very famous picture of the wreck where it has all the dishes kind of still lined up on the bottom of the ocean floor. Even after all this time, like, they're still, like, stacked perfectly. And I actually got to see those dishes. That was beautiful. And things like that. It was just amazing, and the way they portrayed the story of the Titanic was so well done, because they made it look like you're boarding the ship at the beginning, and they give you this ticket with a name of someone that was on the Titanic on it, plus their story, and then you find out at the end if they survived or not. So you get kind of the Titanic experience, and they start from the beginning to the ending throughout it. The exhibit, if you ever get the opportunity to visit it, I don't know the name of it because it was 10 years ago since I went, but it is amazing, and you should definitely go. So after the exhibit, I was amazed by the Titanic, and I wanted to learn everything I could possibly learn about it. I would go to the library and get books. I'd go on YouTube, back in the early days of YouTube, look it up, and I found all sorts of wonderful and weird videos about the Titanic on there, especially in the early days of YouTube. And yeah, that ship took over my life. It was all I could think about. All of my little, like, I still played with toys back then because I was 10. Like, all my toys would be about the Titanic. Everything was about the Titanic. And into the school year, I think a lot of people thought I was kind of crazy because it was all I could talk about. And trust me, I knew it was crazy too. Like, I knew what was going on wasn't normal. But I think that's the one thing I admire the most about my 10-year-old self, was that I didn't give a flying fuck. I was doing what I wanted to do, and if people didn't like it, well, they could leave. I didn't care about a single thing. And I still miss that about myself when I was 10 years old, because I did whatever the hell I wanted. And yeah, I wasn't exactly the most socially aware person when I was 10 years old either. Like, I knew I was being weird, but I think sometimes I didn't realize it too. So yeah, it definitely didn't help my popularity being into the Titanic at the age when everyone else was like caring about Abercrombie and Disney and celebrities. I was like, Leonardo DiCaprio, that's the only celebrity I gave a shit about. And even then, I didn't like the movie all that much. Like, I've seen the Titanic movie like dozens and dozens of times, and I've watched it in class in university, but yeah. So in the time I was obsessed, I knew everything about the Titanic, and I couldn't stop until the very end. I wanted to learn everything, and until even going into the future, I still look at the Titanic all the freaking time. I'm always reading books about it. I look up on our like little archives at my university about the Titanic all the time. I'm not gonna lie. I know it's kind of nerdy, but I don't care. So yeah, so even then I was just always into it. And going into Titanic, like learning about it, it opened up so many doors for me. Like, I have done so much because of Titanic that I probably would never have done. And that includes studying some other parts of history. Like, I probably would never have wanted to go to some of the historical stuff in Boston and see where Paul Revere was buried, or studied Anne Frank, or the Holocaust and World War II. I never would have been interested in tanks, and I probably would not have wanted to take pictures with them and climbing all over them because, you know, I'm normal. Or the Romanovs. Like, I probably would not have wanted to go to Russia in a month if it wasn't for Titanic and me discovering the Romanovs. So the Titanic opened up so many doors for me, and it helped me discover a love for history that I probably would never, ever, ever, ever have discovered before. So I have no regrets about it. Like, as much as people ridiculed me and thought I was weird and all that other shit, no regrets. None whatsoever. And it also really helped me because when I was like going around and seeing all sorts of things, I got to see so many cool things related to Titanic ever since then. Like, I have got to see a life belt at the Smithsonian in Washington. I got to see where some of the victims were buried in Nova Scotia. I've got to sit on a replica of a deck chair, which was really, really fun. And yeah, in the picture behind me, of course, that is Titanic back there. Of course, it might be a little strange having a ship where people died in your bedroom, but it's there. I got that in Nova Scotia too. And I probably would not want to go to Nova Scotia for 5 weeks 2 or 3 summers ago as much as I did if it wasn't for Titanic. That ship opened up so many doors for me, that obsession, and I have no regrets about it. And as I got older, I began to realize that I wasn't as interested as the whole, like, why was I so interested in the ship? I think it wasn't really like the whole mechanics of it. Like, I didn't care about the way it was built and all the other stuff. I discovered I was really, really fascinated by people's stories. It was the stories of the people who survived and died that night, and some of the heroic tales that came from it that I think really got me interested in Titanic. And even with the Holocaust and the Romanovs and stuff, I was more fascinated by their personal stories than some of the other things, like the other elements of the tales. And that's actually what helped me get into social work, was realizing that people's stories and how they handle times of oppression or difficult or giant disasters, that's what really fascinated me, and that's what made me tick, was people's stories. People fascinate me. And that was really what got me into social work. And Titanic really sparked that fascination in me, because in times before, I don't know really what I was interested in. I think I've always been interested in dance, like that's never changed. But things like people and historical events or disasters, that never really became a thing. And yeah, it's people's stories, and the stories of Titanic, of like the band that played until the end, the couple that died together because the woman said, "As we lived, we will die together," and everything. And Ruth Becker, the girl who was separated from her family and went on a different lifeboat. Their stories fascinate me, and it's why I really want to be a social worker, because I really love people deep down. I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but I do love people, and I love hearing about what goes on in other people's lives, and I see the complicatedness of people, and I think that's what really drew me in. I think that's the only explanation I can really give as to why I was so obsessed with a ship, and it changed my life forever. So 10 years later, here I am, 20 years old, not that different, still fascinated in history, still dancing, want to go back into violin. I'm older, hopefully a little better dressed, not wearing the 90s hand-me-downs anymore, wink wink, nudge nudge. But yeah, the Titanic is still a big a part of my world. Like, Supernatural had an entire episode of the Titanic once, and I was freaking out because I thought it was amazing. And Rick and Morty has Jerry, who's really into Titanic, and I love that fact about the show, is that they have Titanic in it, plus other amazing things. And that a little fascinated about the ship. It's never sailed away. I still want to learn about it. And when we went on a cruise last summer, I found out the ship that we were on wasn't that much bigger than Titanic, and I was so excited about that fact. And in the future, I really, really, really hope to see the wreck and see where it docked off in Southampton, England, or see where it was built in Belfast, Ireland. I just want to see and learn everything about Titanic still, because I have so much to owe to that ship and to that period in my life. I have absolutely no regrets. And I think that's the main point of this video, is that you should never, ever, ever listen to what other people say. Do you, and if that makes you happy, you go for it. Because when you hide yourself, that is when things go wrong and when you don't discover who you really are. That Titanic phase, though it made me isolated, it made me the person I am today, and I overall am pretty happy with that person. And if it wasn't for that ship, I probably would be going through some degree where I would end up with a 9-to-5 job, sitting, learning about something I don't really care about, and I probably would not be as happy. So, Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad, Sam, Kyle, thank you for taking me to that exhibit, and thank you for dealing with me for the past 10 years. I know that having a daughter that's into something so strange is not always easy. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that my first tale of me being nerdy, because I think Titanic was the first real fandom obsession I've ever had, was interesting to you, and I hope you have a great day. I'm gonna go to a fort later on this week and enjoy every little bit of my nerdy self, and I hope you like it too. Peace.